Right, here we are, episode 30. And what a treat we have for you all tonight. We're joined here by former England and Premier League player Matt Jarvis.
Good
How are you?
evening.
Good evening,
Good
Matt.
evening,
How are
yeah.
you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah,
Good.
inside from the cold, so I'm all good.
Yes. Yeah.
No, it's a pleasure to have you on tonight.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Go on. So, should we start us off?
Yeah, so we like all when we have guests on the podcast, Matt, we like to start off with some quick fire questions just to ease you in and possibly find out some interesting facts about yourself and your footballing career.
Okay.
So, Jack, you wanna
Start
start
us off. Yeah, Matt. You may still support. I don't know, but when you were growing up, what team did you support? What football side?
I was coming from Surrey. I was a Man United fan, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
nice and local.
Exactly.
So when you were growing up and you played, who was your footballing idol when you were playing as a kid?
My first sort of one was Gary Lineker. Purely and simply, it was just about the time that he just scored 48 goals for England, and the VHS had just come out, and that's something that I got as a present, and it sort of stuck with me. But Ryan Giggs was my idol. Just similar position to me. The way he played was very similar to how I wanted to play. And I was extremely fortunate that I ended up playing against him quite a few times. So it was great.
Did you ever manage to get his shirt?
That's the only thing I never did. To be honest, I didn't really like swapping shirts. I felt awkward. I felt weird, asking people. I only ever swapped shirts with people like ex-teammates or something, because it wasn't that. I didn't want to go up to someone and go, "Oh, can I grab your shirt off?" It was all a bit awkward. So I wish I did, to be honest, because that would have been great, because he was my sort of idol growing up, and then to be able to get to play against him was awesome.
Yeah, nice. Toughest defender you faced? In what sort of 1v1 situation? Who'd you?
Oh, there's so many. But I think he's probably the best the best. I'll go left back to make my life a little bit easier. In the Premier League ever, and that's Ashley Cole.
Yeah.
Just a brilliant defender, but also the way that he was always in a team that was always dominant possession, always attacking. So he was always going forward. So it was very hard to obviously get the other side of him, because he had a brilliant engine, but a great defender, and obviously did very well.
Yep.
Fantastic player, wasn't he? If you could name your dream five-a-side team of the players that you've played with, you can include yourself in that one if you want to.
Yeah, you can be sub. You can start wherever you fancy.
Dream five-a-side that I've played with. That's difficult. Goalkeepers, even goalkeepers is difficult. I'd say Jussi Escalainen in goal.
Yeah.
I mean, I've played with some brilliant goalkeepers, I have to say. I've been very lucky. But Jussi was, when I went to West Ham, he was sort of so good. I mean, he was great in the Premier League anyway, but he was really, really consistent, very professional. The way he went about training and everything, he looks after himself. And he was a great lad as well. But I'll go Jussi. And then he'll have to be very attacking, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've played with some brilliant players. I would say, that's so difficult. I can't even fit them all in, because I'd have like Wes Hoolahan, James Maddison, Joe Cole, Dimitri Payet.
So yeah, decent. You'd have a very good squad.
Just for that sort of like on the ball, like Joe Cole, just loved five-a-side. So he would love to be in that. I'd love to have one defender, I suppose, wouldn't I? But I think I'm outnumbered already there. I'd chuck a James Collins in Ginge from West Ham, because he's a beast. He would chuck his head at anything. So I'll probably go him, and then they would have to fight it out to who's playing in that team.
Very good.
Great answer. Is it your one, Jack, or?
I think I asked that one, didn't I? Oh no, it's you. Sorry. Yeah, I'll go with So now you're no longer playing professionally. Would you rather go for a round of golf, or are you into a bit of a gym session?
or both. Honestly.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I was one of them stupid footballers that concentrated on football while I was playing, so I didn't really play golf. So now I've got a massive bug for it,
Yeah,
and
I bet there's, yeah.
I'm really into it. But I love the gym. The gym's been part of my life for the last 20 odd years, and I love both of it. So that would be a very difficult one because I'd like both of them.
Do you play all year round, or are you a fair weathered golfer? Or
Well, I've only just, I'd say the last 8 months I've started playing.
Right.
And I have tried to play as much as possible. So this week has been cancelled twice because of the weather.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Gutted.
Shocker, yeah.
If you were not a footballer, where do you think you would have ended up, career path-wise? Do you think
it would have definitely been in some sort of sport? I mean, I was one of them annoying people at school that I was pretty good at most sports. So I played county for football. County, I swam. I was Surrey champion 4 years on trot. I was cross country Surrey. I was 1500 and 800 meters. I did all of the all
everything
sports,
above.
and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. That whole competitiveness. Whether that was in a team, whether that was individually, I loved the training that went with it. It's just that whole scenario of performing or competing. I absolutely loved. So it would have had to have been in something to do with sport because it was just such a massive part of my life.
Yeah.
We did a bit of research. We found out both your parents were British #1 table tennis players. So were you ready? Could you charge your hand at that?
I probably wouldn't have been able to go as good as them, but I'm all right. Give me a little practice. I'm not too bad, but nothing compared to what they didn't really push me into table tennis, to be fair. But I love it. Great sport.
Yeah, quality. Yes, quite could be a simple one. Favorite holiday destination?
Again, it's a place that me and my wife absolutely love. We've been fortunate to go a couple of times, and it's Barbados. Just I have that instant. You come out, you get off the airplane, you have that instant relaxation and chill. And it's the beaches are amazing. We managed to take our kids there not too long ago, and there's just something about it. They just were sat on the beach the whole time, very chilled, like just playing in the sand, playing in the sea.
Yeah.
There's just that would be the place.
Nice.
Would you rather score a solo goal or a long range screamer?
A solo goal, I think.
Taking it past a few defenders and
taking players on, doing a few tricks or beating the keeper like that. I think rather than long range screamer. Never was really well. I had a few decent rangers,
you scored some good goals,
But a little jinky run would have been more up my street.
Nice. Penultimate one. When you're Friday night chilling out, would you rather a beer or you go for a glass of wine?
I'd start with a beer and then move on to a glass of wine.
Yeah, fair
enough. That's hard. Again, depends where you're going and who you're with.
Yeah.
But I'd probably start with a beer and then move on. Can't have too many.
Perfect. And our final question, we get sent them some really random questions each week from our listeners. And my favourite one from last week was, would you rather have the ability to speak 5 languages, or would you rather be able to speak 5 languages, or the ability to speak to all animals?
It's a bit of a random one,
I'm going to say speak to animals purely and simply because I could try and learn 5 languages, but you're never going to be able to learn to speak to animals. So
exactly,
I'd go with that.
That was your reason, wasn't it, Jack?
Yeah, exactly. I was a bit hesitant, but exactly that.
Yeah. Be a bit Dr. Dolittle.
Well, that completes all the quickfire questions. Before we get into the main bulk of the pod, we'll just start with the teaser. So every podcast, I set Jack a question at the beginning of the show, football related, normally something the week before has happened or something like that. And then he's got the whole show to think of the answer. And at the end of the show, we reconvene and he gives me his best answer.
Okay.
So this week is about you, Matt. So you're more than welcome to help Jack answer this question as well.
Yeah.
Matt, in your career, you have played for both Wolves and West Ham, but can you name the two other players to have played for both clubs in the modern era? So modern era, I'm talking from 2000 to present day.
I can think of one. I think I can probably actually think of two. But definitely one.
Yeah, I don't know if the second person, if you played with them or not. I don't know, but we'll touch on that at the end of the show.
Fine. We'll come back to it. But yeah, so yeah, if you don't mind, we'd like to start basically from the beginning. Matt, you've had over 400 appearances, professional appearances, scored over 40 goals, but at all levels from Football League to Prem. But we'd like to sort of go back to your professional start, if you like, and which is at Gillingham, where you made your debut professionally. So yeah, just how it sort of come about and what drove you to there and got you to that stage.
Well, actually, I was actually at Millwall, would you believe, for like 6 to 7 years when I was a kid, and I got released at 16. Got told not good enough, which as a 16-year-old kid is not particularly nice. No one wants to hear you're not good enough. There's a particular time when you're at school doing all your GCSEs and everything. It was really difficult, and I had that initial thought of, do I just want to go and play locally with my mates, or do I want to sort of continue and try and play football? And it took me a couple of weeks, and because I got told on the Saturday we had to all go in after a game and speak to them, and then straight away there was a Gillingham scout that was like, "You should come and play. We've got a game tomorrow." And I was like, "No," like I couldn't deal with it at that point. And luckily for me, he kept on at me, and about 2 weeks later, I went and started going training with him. And to be honest, I wasn't very good. My confidence had gone. It really had. And luckily for me, they saw something and offered me a contract. And the instant, as soon as I got it, it was like a light bulb moment in my mind, and I just hit the ground running. I made my debut at 17, so it was just electric. There's a night game at home against Sunderland, who were the best team in the league. So what an experience to go in and sort of make 17. Your debut in 17 in the Championship. It's only a year that I got released and told not good enough, and then I'm playing in the Championship. So it was just an incredible turn of events, and it just didn't stop after that. It was just an amazing experience and learning process. But for me, it was just continue to play and enjoy it. And I had a really good group of teammates that were there was quite a few experienced pods that sort of took me under their wing and really helped me learn the game, especially, you play in the youth team, you play in the reserves, but then when you get in the first team, it means a lot. Players were like, if you didn't win, you didn't get your win bonus. Your players weren't paying their mortgage. It was like a reality check. But it was brilliant, great learning curve. And it just went from good to amazing extremely quickly.
Just a quick one. Like, obviously, like you said, you're 17 years old. Did you like exactly what you're saying with when you're joining that side and you're playing for them? It means a lot more. It means people are paying mortgages and bonuses and whatnot. But did you think at 17, I didn't belong here, or was you always ready to go out there and give it everything?
To be honest, for me, it was all about just enjoying playing football. You mentioned about my mum and dad. I was very fortunate. My parents had been in around sport, and they were very good with me, as well as my brother and friends and family. I was very grounded, very, very much like work ethic, and don't worry about anything else. Just contracts, money, whatever. Just worry about performing and in trying to improve and getting better. And for me, the thrill of picking the ball up, taking players on, and lifting the crowd, and you can sort of feel it yourself. And the crowd, you get the ball, and the crowd, they start getting off their feet. You can feel it, and it's like an adrenaline. For me, it was just purely and simply about playing and trying to play every week, trying to improve and to try and I suppose entertain a little bit.
Were you always a winger, always a right and left in field, or?
Yeah, I think so. I was right-footed, but the position that came up in at Gillingham was left wing because it was a guy called Paul Shaw who played there, and they sort of played with three narrow midfielders, and Paul Shaw would play on the left and then drift in between, so he would sort of be like a bit of a number 10. And it just so happened that that position came up, and I just went and played left wing, but they then wanted me to play as a winger, and that was it. So I used to cut in a lot and just use my right foot, but I then had to obviously adapt and learn and practice, and then I was able to use both, which is a massive string to my bow.
Definitely. When you were in the team to start with, were there other youngsters in the team, or were you the youngest one by quite a way?
I was the youngest one, yes, but there was a few youngsters in like the year above or the years above. So there was a good blend of older and younger players that again helped me. Going in the team, I was still sort of a youth team player, but playing in the first team, so I was still cleaning the manager's boots. I was still having to clean up the changing rooms before, after games and after training. But I was part of the first team squad, so it was a strange scenario, but a brilliant atmosphere and a really good, like I said, good group of lads that really helped me sort of get into the game at the big level.
Yeah,
you mentioned the manager there. You played under him for 4 years, didn't you, at Gillingham, didn't you? How was he in your to work with and stuff?
He was, as a player when I first sort of joined there, he was player manager. And there was not many play managers that I've ever played with, and he was the fittest guy you'd ever meet. Honestly, it was unbelievable. Like pre-season was literally, he would just go, "Come on, lads, off you go," and you just have to keep up with him, and you just run away. It was impressive, but you are constantly then. You have to do well in training. You have to, because he's watching, he's involved, he's on your team or he's on the opposite team. So it was quite an interesting situation to go in, but he was brilliant with me, helped me. I still speak to him now because it was just a great start in football for me with him and with his staff and just the whole process, because he was manager for a few years, and then he got sacked as manager, but he was still a player. So it was a weird combo.
Strange one, yeah.
Weird, I used to just still call him Gaffer because that was his name. I couldn't call him I couldn't call him Andy. It was just Gaffer, but he was great.
Yeah. Again, similar to what you sort of already answered, but when you entered that team, did you think, right, next level, I need to do this and this to get up to the Championship or a bit higher in the Championship than the Premier League, or was you just need to get myself into this team and go from there?
Yeah, I think initially it was just I had a taster, and I was just desperate to get back in. And I say fortunately or unfortunately, whatever you want to say, we got relegated at the end of at the end of the season. I played quite a fair bit that season. I don't know if it was the season before I made my debut, but we got relegated, and it was horrible, absolutely horrible, because basically that whole team just disintegrated. It was a completely different team the next year. Again, really good group of lads, but that team that I'd sort of built a relationship would see me come into had disappeared. But for me, then it was all about, I was playing week in, week out in League One. And I played really well. I was in team of the year, and ultimately that's how and where I got my move.
So talking of the move there to Wolves, how did that first come around? Did agent call you? Did you have an agent at the time, or they contact you directly, or did you believe it at first?
Well, to be honest, there was quite a lot of talk in a few windows previously that, again, I had no, I was only young, so I wasn't really thinking about it. And like my dad was always saying, just don't worry about that. Whatever is going to happen will happen. You just concentrate on playing well. So that was my whole mentality in it. And then my contract was sort of up in the summer, so I didn't sign a new deal, but I was still under 24, so it was sort of like a compensation. Whoever was going to sign me, and there was a few clubs interested. And then I remember, again, a funny story. I was actually, bags were packed. I was just about to go to the airport. I was going on a boys' holiday to Marbella.
Oh, nice.
And I get a call from my agent at the time saying, look, I think that was on a Friday, and he said, right, Sunday, Mick McCarthy wants to meet you in Portugal. He's out there on holiday, but wants to meet you. I was like, wow, okay. So I said to my mate, sorry guys, I
Yeah,
can't
sorry
go.
lads.
But I flew to Portugal, met him. He obviously told me why he wants to sign me, what he was trying to build at the club, and if I had any questions. And then for me, it was so easy. He's such a I would say he's my best manager I've ever worked with. Just everything about him, the honesty, his love for it, the way he's on the training pitch every day with you, the way for me, he's got that aura whenever he walks into a room. You know, he's quite a character, but he's very approachable from a player's perspective. And he helped me tremendously in my whole career, but it was nowhere else I was ever going to sign after that meeting. And I flew back. I went straight to Molineux, got shown round, and pretty much signed straight there and then, really. And then I signed at the stadium. I got a lift to the airport with the club secretary and his wife. And then we actually got on the same flight to Marbella, and then I went one way, he went the other, and I met my mates. It was incredible, absolutely incredible.
You still got to go on your holiday. That's good.
Yeah, I had a few nights left.
Yeah, nice. I don't know. Yeah, just on. So like you said about Mick McCarthy. Sorry, just quickly that, like you said, do you reckon he was your favourite, your best manager you've played under?
I think so. Not, there's so many different qualities in all different managers, but just for me personally, the way that I developed under him, the way that's not just with him, like his coaching staff, Terry Connor, he was brilliant with me. He used to take me out before training all the time and after training to work on bits and pieces. The fitness coach there at the time was Tony Daly, who was ex-England, Villa, Wolves, was literally me 20 years before. It was
crazy.
Just perfect for me. So this helped me develop as a player, but Mick was he was honest. That's the biggest compliment I can give him. He was honest. He would, even if he pulled you in on a Friday, we got a curly finger, so you were going, oh, Java, I'm not playing you tomorrow. You're going to be on the bench. And I'd be like, oh, you're kidding me. Why? And he would explain why. And I go, I don't agree, this. And he goes, like, I completely understand. But what I need you to do is to be ready to come on and change the game if we need you. And you sort of come out of it going, yeah, I'm annoyed. I don't agree, but I'm ready to jump on if and when's needed. A lot of managers now, they say, oh, I'm going to rest you today, but I'll play you on Tuesday. And you're like, right. And then they win on the Saturday, and they go, oh, look, I can't change the team because the team's won. We're like, well, that's a load of rubbish.
Exactly.
But Mick was brilliant like that. And as I said, he was on the training pitch all the time. He put in the hard yards. He knew what he was talking about, and I had a lot of respect for him. And he knew everybody's name. You go when he left Wolves, like, this sums him up. He spent the whole day going around everyone at the training ground, shaking everyone's hand, knew everyone's name, saying goodbye, then went over to the stadium, knew everyone in the ticket office, behind the scenes, everywhere, just go around. That's just the person he was.
Yeah, that's good.
So you signed for Wolves in 2007 in the Championship, and you were there for 2 years, playing in the Championship before they got promoted in the Premier League. How was that like, knowing you were going to become a Premier League player that summer? Were you really excited, a bit nervous? Were you worried that they might sign someone, or were you just absolutely buzzing to get in there?
I mean, there's a lot of things in that you've just said. Yes to probably all of it. I was absolutely buzzing. That's the dream. That's what you work for. And that season in the Championship, there's not many things better than that. I know you want to win the Premier League, but winning every week pretty much in the Championship, riding that wave of just enjoyment, if we go a goal down, we know we were going to come back and win. The team spirit was amazing. The group of lads were brilliant. The fans were able to enjoy it, and then winning the Championship was just incredible. And the chairman paid for 13 of us to go to Vegas, which was even better.
Memorable trip was that?
It was, although he did tell us after everyone had already booked their summer holidays, he told us, like, the last day, we were like, oh, but yeah, we managed to smooth a few
I'm sure,
things around.
Yeah, I think you'd have been all right.
Exactly.
Did Mick McCarthy go on the trip?
No, God, no. But that summer, you just, like you say, you don't want people to come in and sign to go in your position because you want to play. You've earned the right, I feel, to play as you've got promoted. But for me, it was all about excitement, just buzzing to be in the Premier League and test yourself against the best players in the world. And that was me all over. That's all I wanted to do. And I feel like I hit the ground running in the Premier League. I felt at home there. My performances probably showed that. And the biggest difference, I suppose, from the Championship to the Premier League is the easiest way to describe it is in the Championship you get less time on the ball, but it's easier to do something with. Whereas in the Premier League you get a bit more, I don't know, a bit more respect, a bit more, I don't know, you get more time to have a touch maybe, rather than someone just coming straight. You get a bit more time, have a touch, turn, but then actually trying to take someone on, you knock it down the line, they're quicker, they're stronger, you cut inside to shoot, they get there, they're sharper, they stand off a little bit, so you think you've got a bit of time, and then they close it down. It's just harder to do something with. And the biggest thing is you get punished. One shot, one goal. That's the Premier League. Whereas in the Championship, you can get away with a few, a few little mistakes here, and you don't get as punished. But I absolutely loved it. It was the best. It's the best league in the world.
Yeah. So like you said, that they just touched on, when you were in the Premier League, what was your favourite or the toughest stadium you went to away, or maybe a bit in awe of, when you maybe at Anfield or in Old Trafford, or were you ever in awe of an intimidating crowd, anything like that?
No, I was never in awe. Absolutely loved every single minute of it. I think that I always had a really good game at Old Trafford and Anfield, to be fair, which is the two that you really want to anyway. But for me, I remember it was our first year. It was a bit of a reality check. First, I can't remember what game it was. It was very early on when we went into the Prem, and we played Chelsea away at Stamford Bridge, and we got pumped. And it was like wow. You're closing players down, and they were just going bop 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 round you, and you're like, you couldn't get close to anyone, and you were like, oh wow, this is the standard. But it didn't like put you off or anything. It was just like, okay, we're going to need to raise our game again, because these boys are, it's a different level. So that was quite a good learning curve very early on.
Yeah, was that the team of like the Lampards, your Drogbas, your Ballacks, Essieans, Terry, Cavallio?
It was
Cole,
William, Hazard, Oscar, Matter. Oh God, you couldn't get close to them. You couldn't get close to them. It was a joke.
How do they? Just a spur of the moment one, but how do they? So Mick McCarthy, for example, you're leaning to Chelsea. What does he tell you? Does he just go, "They're all incredible. You've got to be as good as you can be," or like how do you lead up to that?
Well, you obviously know all their players. You're trying to combat how you're going to stop them, and then you're looking at set pieces as an option to try and get yourself a goal. But it's so hard. You can try and combat and say, right, we're going to try and stop Ashley Cole going forward, but then on the other side you've got Azpilicueta, or you've got whoever playing right back that's going to be flying up that side. So it's very difficult, but it's enjoyable at the same time. You got to pinch yourself going, we are playing in the Premier League and playing against these top players, so you can't be going in there and going into your shell. You've got to go and embrace it and enjoy it as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, definitely. Tate, do you want to mention our editor Josh's couple questions?
We just sort of touched on them. He asked our editor Josh, who does all our edits and our graphics and everything. That was his question about the toughest stadium. Just going on there. So where is it? Where are my notes here? So you got into 2011-2012 season. Was when you scored your most goals in the Premier League. But that's also 2011 was when you got your England call up as well, wasn't it?
That is correct. Yes, you are correct.
How did that all come about? Were you expecting it, or just lead us through that story?
Never really expecting it. You're hoping, but I was in the preliminary squads for the two before that I got called up, so I knew I was close, and I was playing really well. The problem I had is I was playing at Wolves where we were fighting relegation, and the other players that were in my position are all playing in the Champions League.
Yeah.
So
top,
it's
top of the table.
they're top players. You know, it's very difficult to move any of them out because they're all playing at top clubs. They're all fantastic players. So it was always going to be difficult. But at the same time, I was playing really well. I was scoring goals. And funny enough, that is how it all came about, because we played Aston Villa away on the early kickoff on the Saturday, I think it was, and we won 1-0, and I scored. And that basically, when I then on the Sunday evening, I then found out I got a text message from the FA, which I thought was a wind up, and then had a call to say, look, it's not a wind up. Once I found out, I then when I first got there, I met Fabio Capello as soon as I walked in the door, and he was like, oh, like, I won't do any impressions of him, but he was like, he just said, oh, look, are you pleased to be here? I was like, I'm absolutely delighted. And he goes, oh, that goal against Villa, that got you in. You were close, but that goal got you in. And I was like, wow, you know, that's quite
big moment,
yeah, quite a big
moment. But at the time, you'd have not thought nothing of it, but you score a goal, You didn't know that's how much it meant, that goal. If that hits the post or whatever, then you never know.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's incredible.
And that you became the first Wolves player to play for England since Steve Ball in 1990. Did Wolves do anything for you? Did they give you a plaque or something like that? Or, I don't know. Did they?
No, but look, the whole Wolves community, family, even the media team, you know, everyone was so pleased for me. And there's so many people that went to that game because they were Wolves fans, just to see me play. So it was just an incredible experience to share it with everyone. And you know, I've got such a really good relationship with the Wolves fans, and I still do now. And that's all. You know, it works both ways. That I obviously need to play well and do well, but they've supported me, and they went to all of these games. They went to England just to watch me, which is absolutely amazing. So yeah, I didn't get a plaque, but I've got some amazing memories.
Yeah, definitely. Just when you went to England camp, did you feel similar to when you maybe started your professional debut or got into the Prem? Did you think you're playing with Wilshere and Defoe and players like this? You think, bloody hell, like this is another huge step up? Or again, was you ready to?
Oh, I don't know if you're ever ready for that when you're going into the England squad. It's quite an amazing. The only sort of in that era, the only one that wasn't there was Gerrard, because he was injured.
Right.
But you know, like Lampard, Terry, Rooney, them boys were all there. So it was just amazing. But once you're on the training field, it's just different. I know it sounds very cliche, but once you are just playing football, you are just playing football, rather than you know. Then, but you know, before of it, it was like the first day at school when I was going into the canteen or to go and have lunch. You know, sit there. Where am I going to sit? Everyone knows each other. You know, I'm not teammates with any of them. They're all like, you know, all know each other because from the same team, or they, you know, just I didn't know anyone, so it was a bit like, oh, but they were great. They were really good. And obviously, once you're then training, and you sort of have that respect, I suppose, that everyone's on the same playing field.
Yeah, you're all there for the same reason, aren't you? All been picked, so yeah, fair enough, definitely.
It must have been a really proud moment for you. I'm sure you've still got your shirt hung up somewhere. Is it somewhere special? Yeah, and your cap as well. Is like a safe place?
They certainly are. Yeah, it's a proud moment. It's the pinnacle. It's absolutely the pinnacle. It's, you know, it's the dreams come true sort of thing. As a kid, everyone wants to play for their country, and I've managed to do it. I remember. I still know and feel that feeling of, you know, getting waved back by one of the staff and sprinting back. Shirt was off, like going on, just ready to go. And I remember just standing there, just looking, and my number comes up, Wiltshire comes off, and like sort of like shaking his hand, walking on the pitch, and just for that split moment going, I've done it. Like, I've played. I've done it. I've played for my country. No one's ever going to be able to take this away from me. This is just the most amazing. And then you're in. Then you're in.
Yeah,
and I managed to get
You're playing football again, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, and then I got a couple of early touches, and it went, and then it just flies by. But that initial moment, yeah, it was just what dreams are made of is amazing. And yes, I still have my hat. Proper
we
cap.
might have it on tonight, but
and then I've got. And funny enough, the game finished 1-1, and Asamoah Gyan scored for Ghana, and the kit man, who was a Wolves fan at the time, got me Asamoah Gyan's shirt. I didn't know he got me it after the game, so I've got my shirt signed by all the lads and Asamoah Gyan's shirt.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, nice. Tell you anything regarding England?
Yeah, so I want to touch on a couple of things. Just so in the team you probably played with for England, Ashley Young and James Milner were obviously in that team, and they're still playing now. Did you notice anything training with them that you could see their careers would be really like longevity into their late 30s, or they're just ultimate professionals?
Yeah, I think ultimate professional is, I take my hat off to them both. Unfortunately for me, injuries, they may play a massive factor. I missed a bit of football. Obviously, don't get wrong, they probably had injuries, but it's the longer ones that when you have surgeries and stuff that just takes it out of your body a little bit. But at the same time, they've worked at it. They've kept themselves in incredible shape. Ultimate professionals, as you say. So brilliant players, and to still be going now is absolutely at the top level as well is fantastic.
Well, don't worry about the injuries. I've had plenty of knee injuries myself, so I know exactly how you feel.
So obviously after that season at Wolves, playing for England, you then moved on to West Ham in that summer. How did that all come about? Did they contact you? Did they want to go, or did you want to leave, or how did that all come apart?
Well, unfortunately, Wolves, we got relegated, and for me, I just got myself in the England squad. I was playing really well. I wanted to get back in the England squad, and I felt that I could only really do that by playing in the Premier League. As I said, I played really well. I think that season I put the most crosses and most accurate crosses in Europe that season. And then when you get the opportunity to go to another club in the Premier League, I couldn't really turn it down.
No.
So that I knew that they'd had a couple of bids that had been rejected. And then it was getting very close to the end of the window, and I knew that this was my sort of last shot to go and play in the Premier League at that moment, and so I sort of had to take it. Well, I was delighted to take it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But it's obviously very difficult with Wolves because I absolutely loved my time there. It was nothing to do with the fans, the club, or teammates or anything. It was just purely and simply for me. I needed to play in the Premier League to try and get back in the England squad, and to obviously I felt like I had played well enough to warrant playing in the Premier League.
Definitely, yeah. You had a pretty good squad for West Ham, didn't you, that year? Or when you played for them, you had, like you said earlier about the five-side team, you named 4 or 5 very, very good players. But yeah, you had likes of Pyatt, didn't you, and things like that. So, what was it like playing with them? Yeah, Joe Cole.
Amazing. I think the season when I first went there, for a side that had just been promoted by the playoffs, we finished 10th. Which is an incredible achievement in itself. And I think we finished 10th, 13th, 12th in the first 3 years back in the Premier League. And as you said, the team was really strong, really strong. You had a really good sort of baseline and backbone of the team core. And then each sort of window, there was a few little players that come in that just add to that. But it was all still the core group was very strong. You had the likes of Kevin Nolan, that was the captain at the time. Then Mark Noma was obviously there as well. You had James Collins, who I mentioned, Winston Reid at the back. Them two were colossal. Really good, really good. And then Andy Carroll obviously signed. It was just really strong. And then obviously you mentioned them. You had Stuart Downing then come as well. Joe Cole was there. Some really creative, enjoyable players to play with.
Yeah, because we have a lot of West Ham listeners and friends and family and things like that. So, just quickly not quickly, but on West Ham, you obviously played at Upton Park, a bowling ground as they like to call it. For them that are listening, what is it like? What is the Upton Park when it's up on its feet and roaring? What's it like?
When it's up on its feet and roaring, wow, it's amazing. Gives you them tingles down the back of your spine. It was electric. It really was, because it's one of them stadiums you're so close to the fans all the time. And like for me, I was always obviously always playing wide, taking the free kicks, taking the corners. So you're in amongst them. So when it's rocking, it's some place to be. I've played there obviously as an opposing player.
Yes.
And a home player, and both are very, very.
I was about to say, what's it like on the other side of it when if you're having a bad game, or like you said, if you're traveling there with Wolves? I bet it's a hostile atmosphere.
Yeah, definitely. But that's the whole point. I think that's what fans want it to be. If you're in the away team, you want to feel that you want to have the advantage onto the home team. Obviously, when it's not going so well as the home team, and the fans, make themselves heard, it's also more difficult.
Yeah.
That's part and parcel of playing for West Ham and playing in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Perfect. I just crashed there, Jack. I don't know if you noticed or anything.
Yeah, there was a little glitch, but
I think it looks all right.
I think you're all good.
I don't know if you touched on it while I was away, but Sam Allardyce was your manager. Am I correct at West Ham, Matt? How did he compare or differ to Mick McCarthy or the other managers you played with throughout your career?
So Sam was, the best way to describe him, he was a very old school manager, but was way ahead of his time on the statistics and analysis and the GPS vests and everything about that, and even like psychologists and that sort of stuff. He was like way beyond his years on that. With the sort of maybe more old school managing type of on the training field, and you could potentially say tactically, but you always, as a player, you always knew where you stood with him in the sense that you knew your role and responsibility. You knew where you were supposed to be on the pitch. He worked a lot on set pieces, so that was like you knew where you had to be and what you had to do in that specific routine or corner or free kick. So it was very much worked on, but at the same time he had that like the first sort of one of the first meetings I went into with him once I'd signed it was a whole team meeting, and he broke the season up because, like, bearing in mind it's the first season back in the Premier League, he broke the season up and was like, right, we want to finish 10th. That was the aim. So to finish 10th, you need to win this many games, this many losses, this many draws. You need to score this many goals on average over the last 20 years. That's what you need. And then he was like, right, so we're going to break the season up into 8 games format. So the first 8 games, we were like, right, we think we could get 10 points from them first eight games. We played the 8 games. I think we got 14. And then you review it and you go, right, that was brilliant. That was good. That wasn't so good. That was it. And then you sort of, okay, that's done. And you move that. And then you've got your next 8 games. And it worked really well, because if you were having on a more difficult run and you were like lost 4 on the spin or something, you could have 2 in one section, two in the other. And you could sort of try and compartmentalize that and go, that's gone. Now we lost 2 on the spin now, but we can get back into it and do this, and we're still on course to get 8 points out of this 8 games. That sort of thing.
So obviously a very different way to manage. Is that something you sort of enjoyed or you thrived off, or was it just a very different way and you got on with it?
Look, for me, I as long as I knew what I was doing, I didn't mind it at all. I didn't. I quite like to know what I was. As much as I like to do, if you're taking players on, a lot of it is a bit more off the cuff and stuff like that. But if you're playing in a team and everyone knows that if I was going to go down the line and I'd got past my fullback where my crosses were supposed to go, they could all get into the right positions. And if I was cutting back again, they all knew where the ball was going to go, so everyone would make that right run. So for me, it simplified a little bit of my job, because if I did go past the fullback, I knew I had 3 areas to hit the ball, and that's because he told me, you go there, there, or there, and the players that were running into the box and made sure that they made them areas. So it sort of made life a little
simplified
bit
it.
Simplified it for me to know, right, you do that, okay, fine, I can do that.
Yeah.
So that side of things worked well.
Nice.
Perfect. You mentioned earlier that obviously Mark Noble was the vice captain at the time. Do you think, was he a really good influence in that team, in that squad? Could you see him growing to be like Mr. West Ham and have that long career at West Ham for 16, 17 years, however long he was there? Could you see that he was only ever born to play for West Ham?
He was Mr. West Ham from the first moment I went in. Yeah, you could see that probably from years before already. He's his own person, but at the same time, he's learned from fantastic people before him. If you even just look at the managers that he worked with at West Ham, the players that have been there at West Ham, and then obviously more recent when I was there, you had Kev Nolan as the captain. It's a great person to learn off and use his experience, and then he's obviously taken that mantle on, and as I said, he's his own person, but he's learned off some fantastic people, and he's obviously a very good player as well, which helps. So incredible player, incredible person, and Mr. West Ham indeed. And it's great to see him back in a role at the club as well.
Yep.
Do you think that him not being there this season as a player could have any sort of influence on why West Ham maybe struggled a bit this year? Is that a thing that you would have noticed in teams?
Yeah, I think so. Even if you look at the last year and a half, he didn't play as much as he used to, but he was invaluable in around the training ground, in the team on a Saturday, being in the changing room. You look when he's come on in games, everything just is a bit more calm, a bit more assured. I think that they just having that experience in the change rooms to calm everyone down, or even to liven everyone up, or even to just being that link between the players and the management. I think he's definitely missed. Don't get me wrong, I think Declan Rice is absolutely incredible, and I think he's taken that captain's armband on brilliantly. I think he's grown in stature. He walks onto the pitch, his frame's bigger. He's taken that captain on and really, really taken off. I think he's been the standout player since he's got in the team, really, and still has this season.
When you're saying there about Mark Noble and obviously in his later stages, but did you notice a change for yourself when you got a bit older? You maybe knew a lot more than maybe the younger guys, and you tried to be that sort of figurehead, if you like.
100%. 100%. As a youngster, all the older players are trying to help you and do that, but you're like, nah, it's fine. I know what I'm doing. but you do. You want to try and help, because you can learn and you can relate to, if a wide player is coming up as a youngster, and you'll be like, oh yeah, like maybe you should try doing this, or when you see this, maybe try and do this. But you're just, because you've done it, you've lived it, and you've got that experience. So you're trying to help these players, and even if it's nothing to do with football, you just try and be that. What's the word? Mentor. I suppose.
Leader. Give them exactly that.
Just to, and I definitely feel like especially when I was at Norwich. I started like a house on fire there, but then I unfortunately had a fair few injuries. But even with the injuries, because I wasn't playing, I was trying to help the youngsters that were there, and I did become that mentor for them, even though it was extremely difficult time for me. I was still trying to help a lot of the younger players, and I still speak to a lot of them younger players now that are even still at the club or have left and have gone to other clubs.
During your end at West Ham, Allardyce was sacked, wasn't he? And Slaven Bilic came in. How, as a player, how are sackings sort of fed down to players? Do you find out on Sky Sports News like the rest of us, or do you briefed a couple of hours before, or what happens?
I've experienced probably quite a lot of it in the sense that I've experienced seeing it on Sky. I've experienced getting like a a little heads up by the players' WhatsApp group. I've experienced it from the manager just telling you as a group.
All sorts, yeah.
Also, but the thing is it's really difficult because it's not like there's no other job really that sort of you're in there, someone's been sacked and then someone comes straight in and it's just got to act like nothing's happened and just crack on. There's no, you can't be doing anything. You just got to go straight away, right? New manager just comes in, new thing, right? Learn all that, carry on, do your best you can, and away you go. It's quite brutal, but it's just that's the way it is.
Yeah, I'm talking about managers, but I mean, Tate, you might be asking this one, but in the current crop of managers, is there anyone you think, I'd love to have played with under him, or I wish I'd have been taught by him? But
there's so many different aspects of managers that I would love. I'd love to have learned knowledge and game sort of management as players and developed under Pep, because I think he improves every player that he manages. I think he's so detailed, but I think it must be quite tiring mentally and fatiguing. But he would definitely improve me as a player because you'd learn so much from him. I would take stuff from Klopp, which I think that's that enthusiasm. You look like you just love to play for him. I think he's got that player. Keeps it as that tight knit group. I think is great. And to be honest, I look at like even Ten Hag now. I really love that disciplinary. I think that's really important for me. I was never. I say never. I would never want to be late. With the fines, and I found that side of things, the strictness, and I think that's very important. So that would definitely be something that I would take note of and like as from a manager.
Were you ever talking about fines? Were you ever stung bad? Did you ever might have been turn up late or forget whatever, or was you a stickler?
Oh, I was a stickler. I didn't like giving money away, to be honest. But it was always worthwhile if it did happen, because the Christmas dues were pretty good, and that was from all of the fine money. So
good night out, I suppose.
It certainly was.
Speaking of managers, is that ever something you've ever considered? Ever done any badges, or as you've always just stayed clear of that?
No, I've done my badges. I don't know. I think maybe now it's probably different. But when I first sort of finished, I think it might have been a bit too quick, too fresh. Because I think I would, if I would have gone into it, I'd be like getting maybe a bit frustrated and be like, I could just do this myself. Why have I stopped playing? But I'd never say never. But at the moment, I'm loving doing the media and the punditry side of things. Still being involved in the game and being able to watch, and I've got like an ambassador role at West Ham where I'm there every home game doing, in the lounges and stuff. It's just nice to still be involved that way rather than that, to being the manager. I think I'm not sure that's me. Yeah. I think that's not me just yet. I don't think if ever.
Yeah. Maybe fitting some golf in around your ambassador role.
Exactly.
Where
am I going to fit this? Yeah, where am I going to fit all that in?
It seems a pretty stressful role, a football manager, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so.
It's 24/7. You can't. Yeah. It has to be, because you don't have long enough, unfortunately. If you don't.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's going wrong, they look to the manager, don't they? Don't sack 20 players and change it's the manager.
I think for me as well, I've done so much traveling. I've done so much, moving here, there, and everywhere. And management, you've got to go where the jobs are. And I think at the moment, I've got a young family. I don't really want to move.
No, absolutely fine. Yeah, fair enough.
So, after you left West Ham, you then moved to Norwich City on loan to start, wasn't it? And it was made permanent later on.
That's right.
How did that come about? Was because it was Bilic as manager at West Ham, and then did you move? Then you moved to Norwich Premier League club still, wasn't it?
That's right. Slaven Bilic had come in because Sam Allardyce had left at the end of the season before, but we were in the Europa League qualifying stages, and I didn't play as much the year before under Sam because he changed the formation and didn't play with any wide players at that point. So the ones that had been playing most of the season had sort of the summer off, and the ones that hadn't were called in early to play these qualifying stage games. So I came in and was ready to roll. So I played well in the Europa League games. Slaven Bilic had obviously just come in, was overseeing it, didn't necessarily take it right from the start, but was overseeing it and then sort of took over. And I played in all of the first sort of 4 or 5 games in the Premier League. And I had a really good relationship. I thought his training sessions were great. I really enjoyed them. Him as a manager was really good. We had an open discussion quite a few times. He was saying that he didn't want me to leave because as he showed me that I was playing in all of the games. But for me, I found it really difficult the season before. I only played or appeared 11 times the season before. I was on the bench for the rest of the season, and I found it very difficult. I wasn't one of them players that could just sit, and not play.
Don't you? Yeah.
I wanted to play. I couldn't train all week and then not have a game, or that was my whole job is to play football, and if I can't do that, I couldn't sit there and do nothing, and I just didn't like it. So I had a really good chat with Bilic, and he didn't want me to leave. But in the last sort of moment, I think it was about 2 hours before the window closed, I had a call from Norwich to say that they wanted to take me just on loan. Obviously, for me, it was going to be I'd be playing. It was like a new lease of life for me. It was a great, for them. It was a great club. And I spoke to Bilic, and in the end, it was just like, I'd had a couple of years left on my contract at West Ham. So I was like, I'm just going to go there on loan and, have a good season and then come back and try and get back in the team. And that was the plan. So I went to Norwich, and it was brilliant. What a dream start for me. I literally signed with about 10 minutes to spare with the window. Went straight up there and then played on the weekend against Bournemouth at home. Scored, we won 3-1, and it was just amazing. I scored in my second game, and you're just thinking, this is fantastic.
That's decent, yeah.
Yeah, and then unfortunately for me, I decided to block tackle Yaya Toure, and then it all just went wrong from there on in. It was a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, he's a big boy. So
you mentioned you signed on deadline day, and I had a question. What was your most stressful transfer? Was that it? Have you 10 minutes to go? Would you have to tell your wife, like, or girlfriend at the time, or partner, I'm going to Norwich? Like,
100% 100% the most stressful, because it's just like, how it is. I was like every other person. I was sat on my sofa watching Sky Sports News. I didn't know anything about it. I was sat there just watching, not expecting anything, and then I get the call, and then I was like, right. So then it's like still then. It was like a fax, or you have to sign the document, print it out, sign it, scan it all back. And I didn't have one in my house. So I was like, my missus was at work. So I was calling her, like, can I come there and use the fax machines? I was already driving there. Anyway, theirs wasn't working. So I was like, what the hell am I going to do? So I went around my next door neighbor at the time, is an American lady. And I like banging on the door, and I was like, "Can I use your printer?" She was like, "Yeah." And then I was going on there, and I was just like, "Do you know how to use this?" And she was like, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so important! Like, it's got to be done." And then I was trying to scan this whole thing, print it all off, and I'd done it with about 10 minutes to spare. And then because you then get, like, if you get the documents in, you then get like another 2 hours, I think, to finish it off. So I was literally, my missus was still at work, and I was like sat there, my next door neighbor going, can I just sort of I just got to finish this sort of, I sat there like for another 2 hours, just sorting it all out. And then my missus come home, and I was just like, right, I've got to pack the car up, and I'm driving up to Norwich. And I was like, just like that. So she went to work, she come back, and I've gone to Norwich. It was ridiculous.
So I suppose that one would have been the most stressful.
That's
crazy.
During your career, did you ever have any offers about going abroad, or opportunities like that you looked at, or just didn't materialise for whatever reason?
To be honest, I never wanted to. I always wanted to just play in the best league in the world, which was the Premier League. When I then thought about it, potential was right at the end when I'd had all my injuries and I probably missed the boat. And opportunities weren't really there. And again, I just had such a bad couple of years that I ended up wanting to just go and enjoy myself playing football. And the opportunity came up to move back home and to play local was too good for me to turn down. Looking back now, do I think maybe, but a possibility to go abroad, but at the same time, my whole focus was to play in the best league in the world, which was the Premier League, and that was my whole intention, and what I wanted to do. And obviously, the injuries didn't help a little bit on that, but everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, definitely.
You mentioned that opportunity to move back home. Was that that was the move to Walsall, wasn't it? During your injuries, did you sort of fall out of love a bit with football, or just get a bit frustrated, and then that was your sort of like safe haven to go back there, and you fell back in love with it again? Is that like that?
Sort of. I mean, the Walsall that's not moving back home. I'm down south.
That was Woking, wasn't it? Yeah,
that was
sorry,
Woking.
Yeah.
But Walsall was brilliant for me. Absolutely brilliant. I had a horrendous time with injury, and my whole sort of perspective of life, I suppose, had sort of changed on that. Me and my wife had our son, our first, and she was sort of back down south most of the time. I was up in Norwich on my own. I missed out a lot of my son sort of growing up in the early years, because we made a decision that I needed to concentrate on trying to get fit, and so I was up there on my own most of the time, to try and get fit, and my whole objective was to get back playing, and it had to be worth it. That was my biggest thing. All of these sacrifices you make, it had to be worth it at the end of the day. And Norwich offered to pay me up 1.5 years money, and I said no, because I didn't want the money. It wasn't about the money. I wanted to play. And I needed to get myself back fit. I needed to make this whole process worthwhile. So when I eventually did get fit, the opportunity to go to Walsall came, and speaking to Daniel Farker, who again I had a brilliant relationship with, again said that he didn't want me to go, but at the same time they were flying. Norwich were flying at the top of the Championship. So he was like, I can't really just get you in the team because everyone's doing well. So I was like, absolutely. And he said, I think you should go, and I want you to stay as a player, but as a person, I think you should go and play some games and get back to playing. And for me, that was it. I went on loan to Walsall, and just for me, it was the first game we played. I played Bolton away. It was in a cup game, and that just the feeling of walking out onto the pitch is something that you just miss. And that whole, it was amazing. And within the first 10 minutes of the game, I'd already got an assist. So I put a great cross in, and Cookie scored. And it was just that
feel of it, that buzz.
It was just like, yes, this is why I sacrificed everything for the last couple of years, because it was just amazing. Even though we lost the game, I had 2 assists in my first game back. I did pretty much nearly 90 minutes, and I was just like, this is what it's all about. So that was a really, really humbling, amazing experience for me. And then after that was then when I had the opportunity to sort of move back home and play locally with Woking, and that's all I wanted to do was just play football, and enjoy that again after the last few years of struggle.
Definitely. Again, some listeners, I've got a very close friend who follows Aldershot, so he knows Aldershot Woking, the rivalry there. But I don't know how he got on personally against Aldershot, but I'm sure he'd be listening.
Yeah, ups and downs.
Yeah. Tate, I don't know if you've got anything more on the sort of career of Matt Jarvis,
No, I think
or
we've covered a lot. Actually,
yeah.
Move on to the retired life.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like you said earlier about your golf and your gym and things like that. Is that, like you said, is that something you really want to push for? You obviously get better at golf and just enjoy your family and all the time
I
off.
think the biggest thing is we've now got two kids. We've got a 6-year-old now and a 2-year-old little girl. And as I say, and being able to be at home now is amazing. Obviously, COVID sort of happened either in the right time or something for me personally. I was just got back playing again at Woking, and then COVID happened, and then I feel like the whole journey of retirement, I didn't just finish and stop. I'd sort of finished at Norwich, then did part-time, then COVID happened, then did part-time, and then sort of retired. So I feel like I had like a bit of a process to sort of get my head around
what was going to happen, basically.
Which you never, as a player, you never think you're going to retire. I know it sounds silly, but you never do. So when you have to actually do it is extremely difficult, but it was amazing to be able to be at home with my family and spend that time, which I'd missed out on. And then to obviously now, once they're at school or whatever, I'm able to have a bit of time to myself and go in the gym and play some golf. And obviously now I do the media and punditry side, which is awesome. I mean, if I can't play, there's nothing better than talking about it.
Exactly.
And I really enjoy that side of things, which is good, and hopefully continue to do as much as that as possible.
After, again, we've done some digging and some research, but so like you said, you're experienced football, you have had all these probably media training throughout your career, and now you're into punditry and all the rest of it. But if I can take you back to I found a FA interview after your England appearance when you're obviously a much younger, maybe a less inexperienced player, but did you feel more nervous doing that interview, or was you more nervous stepping out onto the pitch? If you remember that interview at all.
Definitely the interview. It was when you get asked to go up and everyone's in front of you and asking questions. That's nerve-wracking for sure, because unfortunately you learn very quickly if you say anything out of line or anything that's just on the border, it gets manipulated, it gets taken out of context. So you're constantly trying to think of the correct thing to say all the time. But that's everything that comes with it, and I wouldn't ever change that. It's just trying to get yourself out of trouble.
Exactly. No, definitely.
No, we're learning too with this podcast as well, aren't we, Jack? Trying to get better. So obviously, since you've been retired, you've got yourself involved in a lot of ambassador roles and for charities and other like your coaching things you're doing. Would you like to talk us through some of them and how they came about and your passions for them?
So I'm involved in it's Family FC, it's called. It's a football app that's it's for families really. There's loads of different things that are coaching apps and all of that, but this one's the whole process of it is to spend time with your kids, it could be a parent, it could be an aunt, uncle, grandparent, and it all runs alongside the school curriculum, and it's got all different drills and exercises, and you only need a football and a few cones and a little bit of space, and it just helps you, and it's spend time, only 20 minutes, so a lot of kids these days, you don't have the time to go outside and spend a bit of time with family and friends. So this is trying to get everyone together and also obviously have the football as the focus, and the exercise and through the curriculum and everything. It's from ages 4 to 12. So you've got a good age range there to go and enjoy spending time together, but learning football as well. And then I've been a sports ambassador for the Prince's Trust and the British Heart Foundation for over 10 years now.
I was going to say, is that something you got involved in whilst you're still playing?
Yeah, I think I was at Wolves quite early on at Wolves when I got involved in that, and it's an amazing both of them causes. I've been out to workshops and done events and evenings. It's just incredible the work that some people do.
Yeah.
And I've just only recently last week, Bobby Copping Foundation. I've recently gone on board as an ambassador, and he's had to retire early, and a lot of the foundation is based around mental health, which is a huge thing, in the world, let alone just in football. But I've experienced some difficult times while I've been injured, and the foundation is something that I wanted to be. When I got asked to be a part of it, was a no-brainer for me. It's something that I definitely feel passionately about, and I think the whole world is turning and changing, and being able to talk and be open with people is definitely is going in the right direction.
Yeah. Do you think, just on that, sorry, that on that story I read about the Bobby Coppin, it's that incredible story, and obviously your ambassador role, but do you think in football it's has been neglected for far too long, and you obviously something you want to change maybe?
Yeah, the problem, there's a fine balance in that, because I understand, coming out and saying different bits and pieces, are people going to, like managers especially, a team's going to be put off by you coming out and say, oh, well, actually, I don't really want to sign him or play him, or do this, but which it shouldn't be the case. But that's the worry, I think, with players, for coming out and exposing sort of something from themselves that they think could be a weakness. There's so much that's coming out recently, even like with Jesse Lingard and Paul Pogba are all about it. And just because you're paid lots of money, that your expectation levels are extremely high. And you're only human. You all go through the same struggles. And obviously, because they get paid a lot of money,
it's magnified, isn't it?
Yeah. So definitely there's everyone, not just footballers. This is everyone. So I think definitely it's going in the right direction, but there's loads of work to be done.
Yeah. And then you're involved with a few others, aren't you? Is it Dylan Tombides, obviously the ex West Ham?
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, passed away with testicular cancer. I see the family when I do my ambassador roles as well, and incredible what they do. And it's not a sort of an easy subject, I suppose.
Oh, of course,
but they try to make, it's very obviously very serious, but they try to make it lighthearted. And when they're going in to see the players and talk about it's just trying to break the ice a little bit. And they're so good, and it's such a great charity, and obviously the memory of Dylan as well. And I was actually I played with him when I was there. So so it's quite it's quite personal, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's cool. No, like you said, and people listening and those at home, and I'm sure we've got families that listen with they've got little boys and girls that can get involved with Team Family app. But yeah, like you said, they're brilliant initiatives you're part of, and different roles that you lead now. So yeah, it's good to hear about it, and good to discuss, really.
And we'll drop all them links and descriptions in there in the bio for everyone to have a check out after the podcast as well, for everyone to have a look at.
Yeah, amazing.
I think that's pretty much all rounded up. I think we've covered really lots. We'll end on the teaser, if you can remember the question.
Oh yeah.
I will repeat it. Unless you've got anything else to add, Jack?
No, just that I'm a massive Spurs fan. I remember you scoring against us in the League Cup at the time.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. What a day. not for you, but for us.
Wow. Terrible night for myself, but it felt like there was about 40,000 West Ham fans there. But my ego scored the winner.
Yeah, incredible, to be honest. Yeah, really. For us, amazing experience.
Yeah.
So it's always an interesting dynamic in the studio, because Jack's diehard Spurs and I'm diehard Arsenal. So Last week
Very
was
difficult. Yeah, last week was interesting.
Yeah.
No, it's all good fun though. But we revert back to the teaser. Matt, you played for Wolves and West Ham in your career, but can you name the two other players that have played for both clubs in the modern era? You said one came to mind straight away.
Yeah, I think I might have potentially two, but I definitely got one.
Any idea, Jack?
No, that's why we got Matt on to answer this
Have
question.
you got none? I don't think. Well,
Wolves, yeah, Wolves, West Ham.
I'll give you. He's a striker.
Tate, is that right?
You'll
going,
know probably more from West Ham days. Used to also play for Nottingham Forest.
This is bad. I'm baffled. This is my record's all right at these questions, but not today. Under pressure.
Put him out his misery, Matt.
It's Marlon Harewood.
Yes, correct.
No, it's never getting Harewood.
Is the other one also a striker in similar era?
I've got a centre back.
Okay. I just wondered. I can't remember if Carlton Cole played for Wolves at some point. I think he might have.
Check your
Unless my research could be wrong.
Centre back.
Centre back.
He only played for West Ham for a little bit though. He was a January signing, but mainly Wolves player.
Sort of my generation.
I think you missed him on both times. He may have played him at the end of your career.
Oh.
You would have played for him at West Ham though, I believe. I think for the January.
Oh yeah, got it. I know.
I don't know, so let Matt.
Is it also played for Birmingham?
Yes, correct.
Oh, okay. Yes,
He's got two sleeves, I think, covered in tattoos.
Yeah, I'm going to go, if you don't mind, is it Roger Johnson?
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
Yes.
I
did play at both, actually.
Oh, did you?
Play at Wolves and at West Ham, yeah.
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 Very good. Well,
perfect.
Yeah, that's how we
check the Carlton Cole one.
Yeah, I have to look.
Yes, no, we'll check that.
But no, yeah, Matt, that's been brilliant.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on and giving us the opportunity to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you for giving us the 2 hours of your time, 1 hour and a half of your time.
I know, yeah. I know.
Thursday night.
No, absolute pleasure. No problem at all.
Pleasure.
All right.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Cheers.
Thank you. See you later.
Cheers,